Good morning everyone, welcome to a new weekly outlook. We are going to start off here on the monthly to do our top down analysis. As always, let's just jump right into it. Brief recap, just quickly, where we are on the monthly. Okay, of course, we're within our bullish dealing range from this low to this high. We met resistance at this high here with this order block and imbalance, and the plan was to see price commit to a pullback towards this quarterly fair value gap, right? The quarterly fair value gap is this green box here, this green imbalance on the quarterly, at least until the open of this imbalance here, okay? Possibly towards this discount where we have a order block, we have an inverse fair value gap here, which you can see held price. This is from the quarterly. I haven't marked in the monthly imbalances here for the time being, just using the quarterly. Okay, so we have all of these PDAs here, all towards the discount, all below price. So our reaction from this high here, where we took buy side liquidity into this imbalance, we had a bearish reaction. Now, previous month, April has now closed as a bullish candle. So I've also seen we have this BPR from the quarterly, which is also a BPR here on the monthly as well. Now, if you look at this closely, you can see where it has held price successfully before. What we see is, especially if you look on the quarterly, right, if we go up there just for a moment, you can see all the candle bodies from previous months have been respecting this BPR here, right? So let's just zoom out for a second. This open up imbalance and down imbalance, candle bodies have been being held there. So if we go to the monthly, we had SMT, where this imbalance was concerned. So the monthly candle in March did reach into the imbalance. So it's not a coincidence where we're finding SMT where our candle bodies are closing and where we've had some bullish momentum from. Okay, so at the moment, as this says here, the discount PDAs are still available. So all of this is still available here. We still have inverse fair value gap and order blocks and imbalances. However, we have to stay flexible for the continuation of bullish order flow from where we are now, right, with April's bullish close. We have this quarterly BPR, which is holding price. And we have bullish SMT already from the imbalance, right? So that's why we've got to stay flexible. So from a monthly perspective, yes, the pullback still makes sense, but there are signs now that we may continue bullish. So we just have to keep our eyes open for that. Now let's head down to the weekly and see what that looks like in terms of direction. So of course the weekly hasn't changed much, as the last few weeks you can see have closed out in this same zone here. So let me go through how I'm reading this price action. We still have a bearish weekly range, right, from this high to this low, and we still have our bearish weekly PDA, so this imbalance here, right, which is where price has stalled. However, now we have the conflict because we left behind a bullish weekly imbalance as well. Price is just between these two imbalances at the moment. Okay, so there's going to be conflict. So if we take in a monthly analysis, right, where we have to stay flexible with all these signs, we've got bullish SMT, we've got these quarterly BPRs in play as well, and we've got this bullish imbalance. This is why we must stay flexible, because now price could possibly go bullish from here. Okay, our daily range, as I said, is still bearish, but we have enough bullish signals now to look a lot closer and consider the bullish side, especially if the daily lower time frame aligns. Okay, so that's why I'm not completely bearish at the moment. Of course, price could continue from here bearish. We could invalidate this bullish fair value gap, but at the moment we aren't. At the moment it's also being respected. We may see some more consolidation here. More development is required, of course, in terms of the weekly. But overall, I can't consider this bullish just yet because there's no order flow, but the signs and signals are there. Okay, so we must keep that in mind. So let's go to the daily, which for the short term is going to be much more important for us day traders. So the daily order flow and dealing range, of course, has been bullish, right? We switched our order flow around here, right? We had that SMT again at these lows here, and then price continued bullish from there. So we have our dealing range from this low to this high. We're currently in the state of a pullback because we've reacted to this buy side liquidity up here, this low resistance buy side liquidity, and this BPR that's held price 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times now. Right, so we had that bearish reaction from there. Again, as the same as with the weekly, we seem to be between PDAs, right? We've got this bearish BPR here, which price has reacted to for a second or third time now here. And then we've got the bullish BPR here, which price has reacted to a couple times as well. One here, and of course one here. So we are being held within this sort of tight range, and there is potential to pull back deeper because we do have a daily imbalance here overlapping with that weekly imbalance. And we have some small imbalances below with this order block here. So let's put all of this together. We have bullish dealing ranges on the daily. However, these BPRs are holding price, and this BPR here, this bearish one, has held price for a second time now. So if we look at these previous daily candles here since Friday, nice high test, bearish pressure candle here. So rejection of this BPR. Price is not ready to go bullish yet. Yesterday confirmed that, now giving us this sort of bearish daily stage because we had this bearish candle close, right, with quite a decent bearish candle body. Okay, so we have much more of a bearish stage to at least look for some short-term sell side liquidity, which could be this previous weekly low back into this weekly imbalance again for price to mitigate, take some sell side liquidity in order to sponsor our move up again. Okay, so we could form that Tuesday, Wednesday low of the week, right, which is a great weekly profile. This, if we take this weekly low, could potentially even come into this daily imbalance as well. All right, so that may be what price is waiting for. It could potentially go back further, but for now, this will be eyes on main area. So as I said on the weekly, the PDAs on each side can cause a bit of consolidation. So now, you know, we've taken buy side liquidity, we could come down and take sell side liquidity, forming that trap where it could look bearish, and then we could continue going higher. So I hope that's not going over your head and everything's clear. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, right? Because overall, what we have here would be this sell side curve. Price has switched into a bullish structure now, and this could create that buy side curve to aim for this high here, which is the market maker buy model original consolidation / target here. Okay, so if we were to continue bullish, which the daily has signaled, right, because we had these SMTs, we started creating bullish imbalances, right, as we have now done on the weekly, right, as we discussed on the higher time frames. So let's go through this here just to remind ourselves of what's happening on all the time frames. We have weekly and daily, both between PDAs causing some consolidation here. Daily has a bullish dealing range, while the weekly has the bearish dealing range, so they're not fully aligned yet. We need to see order flow on both sides for those two to agree. So now this means we focus more on the daily and lower time frame order flow. Okay, and the daily, we have this dealing range, but at the moment, like I said, we read these two candles here. We're coming from a PDA, a bearish PDA now. We have this clear bearish pressure candle here, which I've highlighted in yellow as a high test, and then yesterday to continue that momentum as well. So those two together is just more bearish pressure, setting our stage for today to head for our next sell side liquidity clear target and PDA. So daily imbalance, weekly imbalance. So we'll be taking buy side liquidity, taking sell side liquidity. So that's what price does. So I hope that's clear now, and I've cleared that up for you. The daily is setting up for further bearish price action. Right, so that's in the short term for today. If and once we take these previous weekly lows, then we reevaluate, waiting for alignment to possibly go for those longs. So enough said there on the daily. Let's go down to the 4 hour. Let's see what that looks like. So yes, SMT all over the place. So I think the potential trap is clearer here on the 4 hour, because as you can see, we have this low to this high. So the 4 hour has this fractal dealing range here. So we have bullish dealing range from this low to this high. So this looks like a buy signal right now to start looking for longs. Right, we had SMT at the highs here, and you can see we've had a lot of bearish reaction from there. We didn't have any clear PDAs within this dealing range here. However, if we just look to the left in the previous dealing ranges, we had a inverse fair value gap here and an inverse fair value gap here. So if you look 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times coming into yesterday, price had rejected this zone here, and then also once or twice below. However, now what you can see is we've closed below that strongly, and price has retested those as resistance, and we seem to be continuing bearish from there. Within our short-term bias to head for these previous weekly lows, that now supports that bias, right? So these resistance and support multiple times are now going to form resistance again, by the looks of it, to add to our bias to head for these lows here, completing this trap, right, where it looks like we were bullish. So it takes buy side liquidity and then takes sell side liquidity before its real move. Okay, so the daily pressure for a deeper pullback, so this can turn into a bull trap. So I wrote that yesterday. So not much more to say here on the 4 hour. We'll go down to the hourly, but you can see how these old fair value gaps turn into inverse fair value gaps and are still in play here. 1 hour order flow is much more obvious, a lot more aligned now with this daily bearish pressure. You can see clearly we've been mitigating bearish imbalances here on the 1 hour and respecting those. So we've got bearish order flow. Okay, we can see the clear market maker sell model pattern, right? This being our buy side curve here, as you can see, and this being our sell side curve here, right? So the main target is very clear, previous weekly low, sell side liquidity. Let me bold that so we can see that a bit more clear. So previous weekly low, sell side liquidity, completing this pattern. Again, once this pattern is completed, then we let price action play out and see which way it wants to continue, whether it's going lower or higher. Okay, so we'll see how that looks at the time, but for the short term, for today especially, and maybe tomorrow, heading towards this previous weekly low. So what do we have in today's price action? We can see we broke down late yesterday, respect to this 1 hour imbalance. We've broken down, made new lower lows, again, continuing our bearish dealing ranges. Today, we have respected this evening imbalance here, and Asia range has continued lower. So what would be good here, because these highs look a bit suspect, especially Asia range, right? We tend to take Asia range buy side liquidity and sell side liquidity. So what would be ideal is price coming up, maybe respecting one of these again, but preferably just taking these highs, maybe coming back into this PDA here, right? That will probably be a bit clearer to see on the M15. We'll go down there in a moment. Right, so what we want to see is some buy side liquidity taken and price continue to break down, possibly respecting one of these previous PDAs. Asia range tends to be a weak range to follow PDAs from, but price can continue going bearish from here. We do not need to come up here, but it would be preferable. Okay, so what do I have written here? Current 1 hour order flow is clearly bearish, well aligned with the daily short term, signaling the downside, previous weekly low, sell side target. The market maker sell model is clear, with lows being the main draw on liquidity, which is these lows here. So another reminder here, remember what's happening in the time frames above, just to support our theory, our bias, and our possible trading for today. We have daily bearish pressure, we have 4 hour inverse fair value gap, which are now resistance, which we've gone below and retested, which is also the potential bull trap for those traders that are looking for buys because the 4 hour made a higher high. And now we have this 1 hour bearish order flow, which is very clear here. So we're just looking for today to form something, respect one of these again, then the M15 to break down. Right, so that's personally what I'm looking for. So let's go to the M15, see how that may look. So this is the M15 currently. What I would like to see is us continuing to build this buy side curve, because I'm going to want a fractal to trade, right? So it'd be lovely to see price come up, take the Asia range buy side liquidity, maybe respect this, just some sort of high test into this area. Maybe we'll see in London open kill zone, hopefully by mid London open kill zone, and then price break down, right, as we expect. And that's where we'll be looking to complete our fractal M15 market maker sell model, but ultimately aiming for the previous weekly low as the final target for today. So this is what I'm looking for, price to come up, take some highs, maybe create a strong high, then break down, then we start respecting the order flow on the M15, maybe some fair value gaps and order blocks, right? So that's what those represent. So that's what I want to see the M15 start to do. We've got a bit of a low resistance high here on Asia range, plus Asia range is always a bit of a danger. It's a bit of a weak high to trade away from in general. So this is what we want here. Bearish order flow could continue from here, right? As we know, there's plenty of fair value gaps here on the M15, but I'd rather not risk the Asia range I would prefer for price to come higher, take some buy side liquidity during our kill zone, right, making it more high probability and then breaking down, as I said. So I hope that's clear. I think this morning is shaping up really well for some continuation shorts just down to these previous weekly lows. Then at this point, of course, I would be reevaluating because we'd have a Tuesday potential low of the week. So price may then, after taking buy side liquidity and sell side liquidity, start looking to switch back into its order flow, its bullish order flow. So we're going to see how that plays out. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.